Hi, my name is Kurt Johnston and I work for Engineered Air. What I'm going to do today for you in this video is show you how to set up combustion on a high turn down DJ unit. So first of all, what we're going to do is look at our unit label. Our unit label describes our inlet gas pressure, 6.5 minimum, 14 maximum static, and our maximum manifold pressure at 3.4 inches. To reiterate, make sure you're a qualified technician before you work on our equipment. What I've done here is I've set up two manometers, one on the inlet, okay, and one on the closest elbow to the burner. What I'll do is I'll turn on my gas. Inlet static is sitting at just below 11 inches water column. Okay. And main disconnect, I'll turn that on. What I've got here also is set up is two voltmeters. I've got a voltmeter set up to MX1, MX2 terminals on my DJM3 control board, which is going to show me the DC output to my modulating gas valve. I've also got jumper cables to GS and YS, which are two terminals or two wires from my speed sensor. And that's going to actually give me a frequency value of what speed my combustion blower motor is running at during this. Okay, so once the disconnect is on, which I flipped already, I'm going to hit the service switch. I'm going to watch the unit start up by itself, at least start the fan, and then I'll enable my service mode. Yeah. So now that my supply air blower is started, I've driven my outside air dampers to full open to make sure when I'm driving it to high fire, it's not tripping my high limit or anything like that, okay? So to enable service mode, there is a dip switch number 5 that says SS. So you flip that towards the numbers. At that moment, you're gonna have an intermittent flash on the third light down, telling you that it's in service mode. There's a service pot just above those set of dip switches. And when you turn that all the way clockwise, that's high fire. Turn it all the way counterclockwise, that's low fire. Never keep it in service mode. That is only for testing procedures. So once this thing starts up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this all the way clockwise, because you always need to set your high gas and combustion air and high fire first. Okay, so it's just doing its pre-purge at the moment. Then it goes to ignition enable. Here a click for the pilot and a click for the main gas valve. Slowly going to ramp up to high fire. Based on our unit label that mentions 3.4 inches water column, we want to make sure our high fire we get to about 3.3, 3.4, and 9.5 inches inlet gas pressure. So to adjust any of these points, you need to make sure your what I call is a Pac-Man or a combustion burner plate can be adjusted for air, and your inlet regulator to adjust it for your gas pressure. Back over here, to show you is at high fire, MX1, MX2 modulating gas valve is at 13.8 volts DC. My speed sensor or my combustion blower motor is running at about 58 hertz. We're going to go back over to a combustion analyzer that I've already set up. So that. And we took off the flue on this one just to make sure we got the proper value and no excess O2 readings. So at the moment, I'm reading 4.8% oxygen, and 3 parts per million of CO. Okay? The range that we want in between is 3.5 to 4.5, or depends on ambient conditions. You want to make sure that a little bit excess O2 is okay. Now that my high fire oxygen and CO is set and it's breathing properly, I can close up the inlet regulator here, the adjustment, and now I want to drive it to make sure my curve matching is proper. So with my meter here that I have on GS and YS, I'm going to slowly turn down my service pot just until it reaches 51 Hertz. At 51 Hertz, I want to make sure that my oxygen level at high fire is pretty close or within 10% of the oxygen level at that 51 Hertz point. To make sure the curve from air and gas don't meet and spike your CO. So 52, slowly but surely, bear with me. Ooh. 1 Hertz. Now we go over back to the analyzer. And it's just slightly higher of 5.8 O2, and CO is 2 parts per million. So you're within 10%. Now what you can do, if you ever need to adjust that, you can adjust this curve matching pot. This curve matching pot, let me turn this back on, bear with me. Your curve matching pot adjusts your DC output top end for your modulating gas valve. So it's the pot just here. So as you go counterclockwise, increases, counterclockwise, decreases your DC output. So until you reach that proper curve matching, you just have to adjust that pot right there. So what I'm going to do now is drive it all the way to low fire, all the way counterclockwise with the service pot. And as you can see, now my voltage from modulating gas to the modulating gas valve drops to its minimum. So oxygen level for low fire should be between 16.5% and 17.5%. We watch this, it's slowly climbing up, and you want to make sure your parts per million are under 80 parts per million. Slowly climbing. Let it settle out and run through the heat exchanger. If you do not achieve this reading, I'll show you where to adjust. Since you've locked in your Pac-Man or your combustion burner plate at the top end, your adjustments are only done by the back side of this modulating gas valve, and that is your low fire bypass adjustment pot. Never adjust anything from the top. The top should always have the locking ring, the brass locking ring right to the top and locked in. So inside the modulating gas valve, this is what needs to be locked to the top. It's this ring right here, the brass ring, and the screw needs to be locked all the way up to the top. Don't need to adjust this, and there's a little hole underneath here that you need to plug. Then you can do any adjustments you need for the low fire bypass underneath this cap. Thanks for listening. Since this is your adjustment for gas on low fire, to make sure you get your proper oxygen and CO levels, the only other adjustment you can make is low fire air. Right now, your speed sensor is reading in frequency of 19.8 hertz. Your hertz can be adjusted slightly from here. Try to adjust your modulating gas valve low fire bypass before you do any adjustments to this pot above PV1 and PV2, which will increase your low fire hertz or decrease. You keep it around that 19.9 or 20 hertz if you can. So once the combustion is complete, make sure you remove all your manometers and reinstall the plugs in the inlet and the closest elbow to the burner. Make sure they're tightly sealed, and make sure your service pot is all the way counterclockwise and your dip switch number 5 is in the off position. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for